I don't know if the introduction to this video should be Wooting copies Razer or Wooting gets revenge for Razer copying Wooting by Wooting copying Razer. It's something like that. A few years ago, Wooting came out with the 60HE keyboard, which featured something called Rapid Trigger. At the time, that made this the best keyboard on the market. Then Razer came along and copied Rapid Trigger, literally calling it Rapid Trigger in Synapse. And for some of Razer's keyboards, it would do exactly the same thing as the Wooting keyboard, kind of leveling the playing field. Then Razer comes out with a feature called Snap Tap, which is basically cheating. It allows you to strafe in this extremely fast way. It's actually crazy. So Razer copies Wooting, and now Wooting has copied Razer by adding their own version of Snap Tap, but it's actually a little bit better. If you don't know what Snap Tap is, I released a video literally yesterday talking about it. It basically allows you to strafe extremely fast through software, and it basically acts as something called a null bind. Now, to get this on the Wooting, you have to do this on their beta website, and you can now implement two different features. One is called Rappy Snappy, which is an awesome name, and SOCD. SOCD is more of a direct copy of Snap Tap, and SOCD allows you to select any two keys, typically going to be A and D. And the reason why SOCD is better than Razer's is because it allows you to actually change how you want to implement it. So you can do last input priority, absolute priority for either A or D. Last input priority, it does exactly the same as Snap Tap. The reason why this is cheating is because it removes the A input as soon as you input down on D. So now you no longer have to physically lift up on A. And then it does the same thing as Snap Tap, where if you just hold A and tap D really fast, you can strafe back and forth with insane speed. So these are two different clips. One is using Snap Tap and the other is using SOCD. As you can see, they basically act exactly the same. I don't see any difference whatsoever between these two. So basically, they're the same. Now, this is a little bit different than Rappy Snappy, which offers a similar but slightly altered version of this, which will set the priority between two keys of which one is pressed down further. And because this uses analog switches, it can tell how high up in the actuation you are. So let's say you press A 50% down. The second you hit 51% on D, it will prioritize D. And then if you press A to 52%, it will then reprioritize A. So it works perfectly when you're actually utilizing it, but the same as Snap Tap or SOCD, it's basically got a pretty limited utility. It will work for some games really well. It won't really affect other games. And the use case is going to be a pretty niche situation. As far as the drama goes, that's pretty much it. You have Razer copying a feature like Rapid Trigger, and now you have Wooting responding to that copying by doing their own copying on Snap Tap. I did some testing and both implementations to me feel exactly the same. In fact, in a lot of ways, these are very much the same. They're both 60% keyboards. They're both about the same price, and they both have analog switches with very similar actuation points and actuation force required. What's not similar though is the build quality, and that's where you notice, I think, these two brands separate quite a bit. The Wooting is built significantly better than the Razer. In fact, I went out and bought the Razer for these videos, and given how expensive this is, it's just really disappointing. This thing just feels like a really cheap, like $30 keyboard in terms of feeling. I know the technology in here is awesome, but it doesn't feel very high end. Even though the Wooting is a fully plastic keyboard, the RGB is better. It actually weighs more, so it feels more substantial, and the typing experience is better on the Wooting as well. Now, I don't think this always applies, but in this case, you can actually hear the quality difference between the Wooting and the Razer with a quick typing test. Now, because two of some of the most important keyboard companies in the market right now are implementing basically the same feature, I think at this point, it's a bit like the cat's out of the bag. I don't see Logitech not responding to this in 20 years. I don't see other brands not implementing something that is either exactly like this or very similar, or worse even. So we'll see where the market goes. You can find links to both of these keyboards below, and as of right now, they're both insane.